Oh my God, I think I love the best that you like start clap with me.
And we're on.
We're on. We're live.
Live.
Yeah, welcome to In the Spotlight, live with Tanya Geisler and my pal, Ricardo McRae. I'm so delighted that you're here with me, my friend. Thank you all for joining us. If you're watching over on Facebook, you're going to want to come on over to Crowdcast, because that's where we're going to be able to see your questions and where you can chat along with other people that are in on this call. In the Spotlight Live with Tanya Geisler is a weekly-ish show. I have taken 2 breaks so far, where I am co-starring conversations with some of my favorite people who have stepped into their starring role and are doing really amazing things in the world. And so speaking of amazing things in the world, my friend Ricardo is here. Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me on. I always look forward to our chats. There's so much fun, and this is going to be really special, talking about things that we're passionate.
Well, I feel like every time we get a conversation, it's like either like I'm asking you the questions and like you can't contain yourself, or you're asking me the questions and I can't contain myself, and it's like, who's asking who the questions at this point? It's just like it's a gong show of marvelous.
Exactly. It's a brilliant. Yeah, it's just good. It's just it's an experience. It's an experience. It's an experience. It's an experience. You have to experience this. What's going on?
Okay, Ricardo. Okay, so this isn't your word, but like movement maker, trailblazer, community builder, brand builder, like you build, you elevate, you amplify, you're magical.
Thank you. It's only recently coming to terms with that as somebody who builds or is able to see things and create it. It's been that sort of, as a creative in the world, just living my life as like trying to make these things work, and only within the last few years, and I think really starting with the one from your workshop on what remind me of the name of it. It's about finding
step into your starring role,
and like really from that experience, not trying to plug or anything. It's like that's actually just how it happened. That really had me solidify for myself that I am the one that's actually going to build these things or create these things, and not shy away from them, because if I thought about it, it's mine to build. So go build it.
That's it. And we're done. Because that's it.
Thank you everyone for coming. It's
good night.
The shortest podcast in history. It's 3 minutes.
So really, really, truly though. So, when people come to the Step Into Your Starring Role work, they are trying to identify their role. And oftentimes, it is community builder. It is trailblazer. But at the end of that day, what you claimed was the one. And so poor Ricardo, like no matter where I am in the world, he gets texts from me that are like,
I should pull those
one.
Like you'd be on the street, you'd see some sign says the one, and I'm like, I just get these random texts from Tanya to say one, and I'm like,
you're here with me in New York City, baby. You're the one. Greg's like, I thought I was the one. I don't know, you're the one I'm married to, babe. You're the one I'm like creating a life with.
You're like the one. Ricardo is another one. That's good.
Yeah, exactly. One kind of one. So thank you for suggesting that there was some parallel with the work. It was the beautiful timing, and you were ready to claim and to own and to step into it. So there had been a lifetime of work that was bringing you to that moment, right?
Yeah.
So where have you come from, and where are you going?
Well, my birthday was last week. So actually, the 8th was my birthday, and just turned. I shouldn't say turned. Milk turns. I'm like, I have 48 years of amazing experience in my life, and most people don't think I'm 48, but I am. And the experience has been from 3 different countries, 2 different continents, traveled. I've lived in well over 50 different homes in my life before I was like 21, 22 years old. So average moving time for me in my life was about 6 months per house, like, because of parents. My dad was like, it's diplomat in Guyana, so we would like move, and my mom's an architect, so they would like design a new house and build it, and we'd move to that, and we'd switch countries, and parents got divorced, and we moved again, and it was like a lot of moving. So change has been this constant in my life.
Yeah.
Change has been constant, and just very comfortable with it. I think that really got me used to just saying, okay, this is not happening anymore. This is happening. I'm in a new school, new people. How do I make new friends, connect with people, new relationships, set these things up, and knowing that it may change, and it can change, and it does change, and you'll be okay. Change is not a bad thing. It's so I've learned to really embrace that side of myself, or change in life, and came to Canada in the mid 80s. Started a business when I was right out of high school that got 16 employees within 3 months. Like, I didn't even know that was a big thing.
Right.
I was like, right out of high school, I'm doing the math. I'm working as a stock boy at this little store called High and Zell's, and I'm packing groceries after school. Like, and I'm doing the math. I'm like, if I make $6 an hour at 40 hours and I do the math for the summer, I'm like, I can't go to school. So I quit, and I started a business painting eaves troughs. This is how far back it is. I had to go to the library to do research. I read this little book on how to paint eaves troughs. Figured you can't get into too much trouble with that. And went down and registered a business for like $25. Got a little $5,000 loan from RBC for student loans. And went down to a paint
also not
store.
a plug.
Totally not. Like, I still have the article. Like, I'm going to post it one of these. Today is Thursday. I'm going to post it today after this episode. The article in the newspaper of when I was 18 and the little business, little black and white thing. And just, started that business. Went to school, did stuff in student government, got involved in politics. Lived in Detroit for a minute, Windsor, which is right next to Detroit. So that huge influence of American and specifically Black American culture. The 60s. Met, like, people tell me all the time, like, dude, you have to write a book. I'm like, I've met like Johnny Cochran, Rosa Parks. She just walked into the office and I was sitting there. I went, it's Rosa Parks. I'm like, I see you in books, and like, you Rose, like, I came here on a bus. Like, thank you.
Right.
Like, she lived in Detroit, and just, you'd see people like that just walking around. Like, I've been in a little bar that holds maybe 80 people, and Stevie Wonder and Prince are sitting there having dinner. Like, they just happen to walk in.
Okay, like Rosa Parks, that was one. But like, what are you?
Prince walks in with a few people. He sits down. He's having catfish. He's having food. Half an hour later, Stevie Wonder walks in with his crew. Like, totally just random. The band starts playing. There's a live jazz band. They're playing Stevie Wonder tune, Prince tune, back and forth. Both of them get up and go, yo, could we sit in? What? What are you talking about? Stevie Wonder and Prince jam for an hour live in a bar with 60 people. I'm sitting there. I could like push Prince. He's like right there. I could touch him. He's playing the guitar. It's like, I've never heard a guitar. Like, it actually spoke. Like, Stevie would be singing and he would then play the guitar and it would sound like the voice. Like, it sounded like the words. I'm like, how do you, like, that's a guitar, dude. And he was like, hey, ribbons in the sky. And he would just drop the same thing on the guitar. I'm like, like, that just happened on a Friday night.
What were you doing there? What were you doing? That was in Detroit. What were you doing there?
I don't know if I should admit this.
Okay, bring it.
No, I was in the bar. You know, it was during university time. It was a side job. I was working there for a minute.
Okay.
And yeah, like that type of stuff just happened. Like, my sister was talking to Stevie Wonder, and they struck up a friendship. And he tried to hook her up with one of his friends, and like left a voicemail on her phone. Like, she saved it for years. And he's like, hi, this is Stevie. I don't know if you'll remember me. I remember you, Stevie Wonder. Like, I know who you are.
It was
But
2 drinks. How could I forget? Oh my God.
you know, connected her with this guy who was his bodyguard or something. Like, it was like just unreal experiences. Came to Toronto late 90s. Got an opportunity to work as a project manager in a tech company. So went from that, I studied art and design and sculpture and clay and bronze and charcoal and paintings. And I would do paintings that are, I don't know, 6 feet by 10 feet, like big wall. This is one of my pieces behind me here. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah. It's a self-portrait. One day I'll explain what that means. But so I studied art, like art. Went to OCAD, these types of things, and then went into tech and project management and sales and corporates and, you know, office downtown on Bay Street in Toronto. And then I quit because I'm an artist and I shouldn't be in a corner office on Bay Street, and doing very well. And it shocked a lot of people when I left. I resigned. I actually looked at my resignation letter the other day. It was May 23rd or something, I guess. And it was like, damn, I submitted this resignation letter to my manager and he tore it up. He's like, there's no way you're going to resign from this job. And I went, well, okay, but I'm leaving. Keep the checks coming. And I did. I went out and I got a studio, started painting, then started blending websites. Like someone was like, yo, can you build me a website? I'm like, no, she was actually complaining that she didn't have a website. And I was like, just shut up, please. I'm like, I'll build you a website. Will you stop complaining? She's like, yeah. And then I went to Google and I'm like, how to build a website? Because I didn't know how to build a website. I told her I was going to build a website. I built her a website and she loved it. Her friends loved it. And then somebody said, well, how much to build a website? And I was like, $400. And I started, I'm like, that just kept going and it grew into, and then I discovered through that from building websites for small businesses that they didn't understand project management and how to market and how to leverage the internet. And I started to use all of that experience from technology days and internet days and project management and all of that stuff to help really small and mid-sized businesses explode using the internet, using digital tools, and built a brand for a small startup. And they ended up competing with P&G in a competition and won. Like, just insane Stevie Wonder singing in a bar type of life. Like, this stuff just happens. We've shot films in foreign countries called Haute Carib, Trinidad. Got invited by the government to shoot this short film that went viral, that generated revenue for the island. You know, it just sounds crazy. Like, I tell people stuff and they're like, Ricardo, that's not true. And I'm like, okay. I could actually have evidence of it. And I was telling my wife and she laughed at me for many years. I told her that I sued a record company in New York and won. I represented myself. She's like, first of all, it's a record company. Secondly, it's New York. You're in Windsor. Like, I said, yeah, these performers didn't show up. So I sued them. Because I'm like, I spent all my OSAP money to have them come for a concert and they didn't show. And I lost all my, they cut off the lights in my house. It was like, I had no money left. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to sue you. I'm like, I've got nothing else to do but sue you. So flew to New York, sued them, and won a judgment for 60 grand. Like, I still have the papers. And I was digging through some stuff and I was like, oh my God, here's the stuff. She's like, that's real? I'm like, what do you think I was trying to impress you? Like, what? Why would I make up that story? Like, that is just so outlandish.
Sidebar, I gotta say, if this is anybody else, would be like, dude, you're a hoarder. But like, these are all things you need to keep.
Few things you keep. I kept that. And I learned a lesson that you can't always collect things because you're right. Like, I won, but I didn't collect. Now what? You're absolutely right, Ricardo. You've indicated in court. Now collect your money. Can't do that because, you know what I mean? Like, it's life lessons. Like, these things really shape you. So that's where I'm from.
This is not where I thought I was going to go at all.
Neither did I.
Which is what's so magical about these conversations. So we talk. So there is a quality of openness and magic. That's the word I've used now a couple times in these 15 scant minutes, and I haven't said very much. But there's a quality of magic about you, and I'm wondering how that correlates to your adaptive nature, the part of you that is open and receptive and change is constant. So how does that relate? How do you connect the dots between Stevie and Rosa and New York label, and like how do you connect those dots for people? Because here's the thing. I had this conversation with my kid this morning, 13 years old. Change is hard, babe. Change is just hard. We had to say goodbye to our neighbors today. Change is hard. So how does that, because there seems to be, if I wanted to editorialize this, there seems to be a correlation as I'm looking at you and feeling you and experiencing you between this adaptive quality and the way in which your life shows up for you.
That is a good question.
Hey, Ryan.
That is just my life. I have known since I was maybe one, since my earliest memories of knowing myself and having conversations in my head, I know that I'm going to do something.
Yeah.
I don't know what the thing is, but I remember clear as day, like being in my mom's arms, just going, I'm just not a regular thing. I'm not a regular person. Full on conversations and thoughts at one of, I've just seen myself as different. I've just known myself to be different. And I've just really known that it's going to be all right, regardless of what happens. I'll say it like this. Best friend and I, living in an apartment, no money, like 3 months haven't paid rent, like we're broke. They're coming to kick us out of the apartment or whatever it was. This is like 100 years ago. And we had nothing to eat but an onion for 2 weeks. Like, that's it. Like, one onion, 2 grown men. That's all. Like, we would slice this onion and cook the outside and then cook the inside ring. The outside, and we would split it up. I'm outside today, tomorrow you're outside. And that's how we shared, so it was even. So we eat this onion, we would take some ice out of the freezer and chew that. That was the only solid thing we had. And we'd eat this onion, drink a glass of water, and go back to bed. That was it. And
stop. Just stop. Come on. An onion. We had one onion for 2 weeks. And one day we were sitting there eating our onion, and he looked at me and he said, "Yo, Ricardo, man," he's like, "one day this is going to be funny." And then I said, "Yeah, but it's not funny now." And then we both laughed for about an hour straight. I'm like, this is actually funny. This is hilarious. And from that experience, I learned this. If you are not dead, you can change it. You can change your circumstances. You can change your life. You can do something if you're not dead. And if you're dead, all of your problems just got solved. So there are no real bad situations. The problem is action. Are you going to take an action to make a difference in the thing that you want? Now, if you're alive, you could take action. If you have your health, you could take action. So what's the situation that you're in that you dislike, I ask people, what did you do to change it? They're like, well, I'm talking to you. I'm like, well, good, but what are you doing? That's why it persists. And I don't care if that is, Ricardo having to lose a few pounds. Summer's here. I'm about to diet. It's like mid-July for my summer body. Onion diet, baby.
An onion, it could be, saving for a mortgage. It could be following your passion as an artist. It could be starting a business. Do something. Do anything.
Okay, so you are deeply, firmly, truly committed to the space where creativity and commerce converge,
Yeah.
which is a distinction that most people can't collapse, or they have a belief that the two can't coexist.
Oil and water. It's like, no, you can't make
mix.
money with creativity and art. And I
So-
disagree. That's a belief I held very strongly for most of my life. As I said, I've studied art. I'm an artist. You know,
True enough.
I'm an artist. I make stuff. And based on the normal sort of idea, the traditional idea of like, you know, you're going to be a broke, and everybody finish that sentence. You know where it's going to go. Like, people don't connect art and money.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to shatter that for myself. So I started looking for examples of people who are creative and artistic and lived a fabulous life. I was like, because once you have evidence, it's no longer true. Like, you run a 6-minute mile. Once you break it, everybody does it. I'm like, just know this in your bones. If you believe you can't make money, I'm like, disprove that, Ricardo, because nothing is actually true until you actually believe it. So it's like, I started looking for examples. I found this artist named Jeffrey Holder, who was Trinidadian. He lived in Manhattan. He acted in movies and 007 series. He did Danced with Alvin Ailey. He painted pictures. He did like, he was just like living this bohemian. He's meeting presidents. Like, this. I was like, who is this guy? And
meanwhile, he's talking about you like, you met Rosa Parks. You met Stevie Wonder.
He's not that guy. He's not that guy.
I know. Okay, as you were. Carry on.
So I do some digging, and I find his phone number, and I call him. Don't know this guy. Never met him. He's in a movie, 007. Google Jeffrey Holder, like, he'll come right up. He played one of the villains in the movie. And so I call him at home. It's like, Google, I check the phone number, I do a reverse lookup, see if the address matches. I'm like, that looks like his house. So I call the number, and he picks up the phone, and I'm like, oh shit. I hang up. I'm like, no. Get myself together, call him back, and I say, listen, my name's Ricardo. You don't know me, blah, blah, blah. You know, I want you to be my mentor. I love the way you live your life in this. He starts cussing at me on the phone. Like, imagine you call your grandma and she starts, like, I don't expect this dude to cut. Like, he's like, what the fuck? I was like, it just blew my mind that he would actually swear. So he said, listen, I'm in the middle of something. He said, you call me back on August the 3rd. And I went, but that's your birthday. And he's like, yeah, I know what day it is. You call me back at this time. I was like, okay. August the 3rd is also the Caravana weekend in Toronto. 1 million people descend. Amazing parade. I'm at the parade with 1 million people. Incredible noise. And it's time to make the phone call. So I leave. I go down. I'm like running through the crowds. I'm like, find a quiet spot about a half mile away. I'm like, call. I had some shitty ass cell phone, Nokia, something. Like, it's back in the day. Yeah. And I'm like, I call him up. I'm like, hi, it's Ricardo. There's noise in his background. He's in the middle of his birthday party. And he's like, excuse me for a minute. And then he goes into another room and locks the door. And he's like, Ricardo. I'm like, yes. He goes, okay, let's talk. And we talk for about half an hour, 45 minutes. He tells me that I'm lazy, that I don't like to follow, like, all kinds of. I was just like, yep, that's pretty much true. I'm not doing the thing I want to do. I was like, how do you do this? Like, I want to do this. I just quit my job, making good money to go and be an artist. I'm like, how do you make this thing happen? And he's like, listen, keep everything you're doing, because it's way better than you think it is. And you'll only recognize that years from now. And understand value. Understand that value is created. He said, if you dance on the side of the street, you'll get pennies. And if you dance at Carnegie Hall, you will get millions. He said, the only difference is the location and the frame. Hence the framing podcast.
Hence the framing podcast.
That is the reason it's the framing podcast. It's the frame is the most valuable thing, he said, in the artwork. I was like, no, it's the art, and I'm an artist and all purist, and no, it's the art. He's like, nope, it's the frame. If you take a piece of art, put it under your bed and disrespect it, it has zero value. But if you frame it and put it in a gallery and set the lights and tell people to be quiet when they come in the room, it's not worth millions. And it's the frame. That's it. The room, the context, everything is the frame. So whether it is doing a presentation of your business idea for Kickstarter, or whether you're on Dragon's Den, they're framing their business.
Right.
They're sitting there going, look, let me tell you this idea. Let me show you some numbers. Let me talk about this. We have people, like, you're framing the business, and being able to frame things creates value. And that for me started this journey of collapsing the two of commerce and creativity. Like, that's how he ended up in a movie. That's why he danced with Alvin Ailey. That's why he is who he is because he can frame who he is and what the value that he's bringing. Everything is valuable if it's framed properly. Everything. Everything and everyone is like, you just are. I just believe this to my core. Like, I meet people, I do my podcast, and people are like, do you script? I'm like, I just sit down and talk like how we're talking. I'm like, everybody is valuable if you give them an opportunity to talk. Like, you just have these, and everybody has a story. So I'm like, I just inquisitive about that. So I go and ask some questions and see what happens. So framing, value.
Brilliant. Also gives me a way of understanding. You've just helped me to understand what I actually do in the world. Because as a leadership coach, I'm constantly helping people to reframe what they're thinking or the narratives they're living in and believing. And that's really done.
That's it.
No, not done. You sit back down, because I still have to ask you, tell me, what are you learning about the framing podcast?
What am I learning about it?
Yeah.
I'm learning about myself. It really is an unscripted live broadcast of Ricardo's personal self-discovery. Like, you want those people, like, it's my reality TV. It's fundamentally unedited, other than a few ums and ahs. It's exactly how it was recorded, like live. Awesome. It's completely unscripted, which most people can't find hard to grasp. They're like, you don't have questions prepared. I'm like, I have a bunch of questions. If I sit there and I'm like, I have nothing to say, I could read it, but I don't read it. I've never used it in any of the episodes. And it's discovering and unpacking that connection between creativity and commerce. And how do people, how does a school teacher begin to shift the way students learn so that they're equipped for a future that no one can imagine? Like, that's your job. Like, so how do you can't come at that with stuff that you know. You have to come at that from nothing. And you have to, like, it's emotional experience and like pulling your life and what is important to know or to learn when the future is going to change. Like, we can't imagine the jobs 5 years from now, but you have to equip your kids today for a job that doesn't exist, that doesn't have a title, that hasn't been invented yet. And that's what we're prepping you for. You're like, brain freeze. And what's important to equip children with in the future is the ability to ask questions. Because everything is Googleable. How to paint a house, how to change it. Ask me a stupid question about something I shouldn't know about and give me 10 minutes on YouTube and I will demonstrate it for you. Everything's Googleable. And somebody shot a video. I learned to build a website on YouTube. Like, I had a whole business for 10 years. Did projects in foreign countries. YouTube. Like, if you want to dig, you can dig and you can keep finding more and more information. So information is not the problem. Access to information is not the problem. It's self-discovery. What do you want to do when every possibility is now available to you? That is what we have to teach our children moving forward. How do you begin to know yourself so that you can decide if you want to be a CEO or you want to be a sea captain?
Well, because here's the thing. When you're talking about change and talking about the magic, the word is less about confidence when it comes to you, and it's more about alignment. You know who you are. You knew who you were when you were one, right? And there is whether you know the hows and the machinations of everything, this sense of like the true is strong in you. And my suspicion is that that's always been true. So I have a sense that that would be something like certainly that's what I talk to kids about when I get the chance to talk to kids. It's about that sense of alignment. And I don't know that we don't talk about that enough. Sweetie, it's 2:30. We've been at this for a half an hour. I cannot even believe it. Mandy, if you're with us, can you please pop the Framing podcast or if somebody could post the URL for the Framing podcast, because you've got to listen in on these conversations. I had the absolute joy and honor of being your first guest.
Yes, you were number one.
I'm so honored. That was amazing. That was so amazing. It was so much fun. Just like today. Is there anything you need to leave people? Oh, we had a question. We got to get to this question because I asked for questions. I can't not. Thank you, Kristen, theframingpodcast.com. I'd love to hear ideas around bringing together social justice work, yoga, and storytelling, and being paid properly for this work in areas that are poorly funded. The work I do involves teaching women in rehab and prison, which isn't funded, despite the work being greatly valued by both staff and women. Thank you. Anybody who has to leave, please go do what you got to do. Thank you for being with us. Please follow me on Crowdcast. You can find out when I'm having more of these amazing conversations. Yes. I'm on a little bit of a summer hiatus for the next couple of weeks. Ricardo McRae is a dream. Thank you for being here, my friend. Thank you, Ryan and Jacqueline and Natasha. Thanks for being here. Stay if you'd like to hear the answer. I just want to be mindful of people's time. So we're going to start answering this question from Nikki West right now. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Ricardo, what are your thoughts on bringing together social justice work, yoga, and storytelling, being paid properly for this work in areas that are poorly funded?
I love the two. I also do this little project called Black in Canada, focusing on profiling Black excellence. So a huge social justice component to my life and work, and grew that from zero into something that has 20,000-30,000 followers and huge mailing list, and then impact and being able to engage to do things. So completely understand that trajectory of nobody thinks this is valuable to creating something that is being asked to. So I'll answer that in two ways. One, do not, I shouldn't say do not. How should I put this? Don't make your passion or your drive responsible for feeding you. Those are two different things, and they don't have to live together. So do what you have to do to make sure you can eat and live and do the work. It's a marathon. If you are not here, it probably won't get done. So make sure you are taken care of. Set sort of this line to say, look, this is what I need to live. This is, I need to live here. I need to do this. I need to have 2 lattes a day. I don't care what it is. Set your line. Make sure you've got that, and then spend the rest of your time working on that passion and that thing that's going to drive. Because it doesn't generate money right now, it is good work doing great things. You're going to find a way along that journey to I'm always looking for a way to monetize things. Like, how do I get somebody to not only just sponsor or give money, but also how does this make money as a thing? You may make money in a different area and then put 10-20% of it back into this that doesn't make money, but just start to think outside of the box and start to get creative with it. But like, set yourself up so you can finish that race and that journey and that commitment that you have, and then spend the rest of your time just nailing it. Like, just doing that work of working with women in correctional facilities, and document your journey. Like, get on Instagram, get on your favorite platform, and document that journey, and you'd be surprised how that draws attention, that draws people. And once you have attention and you have eyeballs, it is equal to power in the new digital economy. Attention and eyeballs are like cash. You can then create a book on how to and what to do after you get out of it, and it's a download that people use and buy for $5 or $10. I don't know. There's 100 ways to monetize these types of things, and it's great workshops that other people attend, families of people who have been it's like, don't just look at the one level, but start thinking, who is everybody around that person that is in that correctional facility, and what support do they need? The blah, 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 blah. And where in that chain does somebody have money that I can provide value that they can then, and you could take that money and you flip it back into your work, and it gets deeper and bigger and stronger because of that. So it's keep digging, keep looking, and you get lucky.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think that there's a way. I think that Nikki might be looking at the money coming from the people that she's directly working with,
Right.
because she did say that it actually is greatly valued by both staff and women. So I think that you're right to be looking at those concentric circles that are around the people that are receiving this help, this care. And it feels like, I don't know about you, but when I hear this kind of vision, I'm thinking movement, and I'm thinking, what it looks like to rally a community around a movement. And I think that you're absolutely right to speak to those social media sites.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Here's another idea. You build a movement, you build the numbers, and then create something like I may be pronouncing this wrong. It's a patreon.com, a campaign, and have people sponsor you. Say, look, give me $2 a month to contribute to the work that I'm doing. Give me $5 a month. And you have enough people that love what you're doing. You'd be surprised how many of them will chip in $2. It's $24 a year. But if 500 or 1,000 people do that, that begins to self-fund.
That's great.
The way that you're doing things. That's just a completely different way of funding the work that you do.
It's so interesting too, as you say that, Ricardo, you mentioned, finding the person who has, you didn't say broken the mold, but when you reached out to Jeffrey and you were like, hey, like, you're doing the thing that I want to be doing. Yeah. There are people that have had some great success with that. I think Maria Popova, can't pronounce that either, from Brain Pickings.
Yeah.
That's how that's funded. The Chani Nichols, astrologer, like brilliant astrologer, funds it that way. So yeah, fantastic. Okay, we got to go. Patronage, Patreon,
I think. Google it. It's in orange and white.
You can Google it.
You could Google
Don't
it.
go to the library. Don't go to the Googles. We'll go to the Googles. Don't go to the library, though. We're going to the library this afternoon. That's what we're doing, me and my kid. How's your kid?
Oh, he's so good. He's so good. He is 18 months going on 87, and he's running things and amazing. He's just
amazing. All right.
How are you doing?
Good luck to you. What's that?
How are your babies?
My baby's good. She's she's a glitter star of ridiculous amazingness. I just can't even. All right. Thank you all for being here. Ricardo, so much love to you. Seriously.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been fun. Anytime. Let's do it again.
Right? Tomorrow. Bye, everybody.